Hello, everyone. Let's start our class with this thought. Life is a collection of changes. So don't avoid changes. Take every change as a challenge. Some give success and some act as a stepping stone to success. Now, coming back to our topic, let's quickly revise what we did yesterday. Started with verbs of incomplete predication. In that, we studied verb of complete predication. I'll explain with this example. Birds fly. After fly, we are not writing any word or any object there. It is giving complete meaning. So no need of adding any word there. So this is known as verb of complete predication. Next is verbs of incomplete predication. See this sentence. The boy seems. It is incomplete. This word seems, it's incomplete. We need to add some word there for complete meaning. We add the boy seems happy. So this seems is verbs of incomplete predication because we need some word to write there. And whatever we are writing there after the word for completing the meaning, that is known as complement. It's written here, the word or phrase used to complete the sentence is called the complement. So complements you can write as noun there, adjective or participle here, prepositions with object or infinitive or adverb there. Next, we studied facilitative. Now, what is that? A transitive verb which does not make complete sense by mentioning its object. But after that object, we need to write some complement there. I'm talking of transitive verb. So in that condition, that verb is facilitative. The loss filled them. It's a sentence. But with grief is added there for complete meaning. So this is facilitative. There also you can add noun, adjective, participle, preposition with object, infinitive or adverb. Then subjective complements and objective complement. In intransitive verb or with intransitive verb, if you are adding a complement there, that complement is known as subjective complement, right? And with transitive verb, if you are adding some complement, that complement is known as objective complement. Okay, that was a revision of yesterday's class. Let's start with the new topic. This is non-infinite verbs. Sorry, non-finite verbs. Non-finite verbs do not get affected by person, number, and tense like the finite verbs do. Such verbs can also be used without a subject. They cannot form an independent clause and cannot be used without the help of another finite verb in a sentence. Due to this property, such verbs are also called incomplete verbs. So that was a definition. Now I'll explain what is this with the help of this table. One side we have finite verbs and one side non-finite verbs. Now with the help of the examples, I'll explain here. Let's take this finite verb. Complete verbs that can be used on their own in a sentence. They carry tense. See this example. I go to ABC school. So your verb is go. They have the tenses or the different forms of tenses. The form of the verb tells you that the sentence is in simple present tense, have three forms. So this word goes or the verb go tells us that the sentence is in simple present tense. So it is showing us the tense. And this word go has three forms here. Go present, went past, and gone past participle. Go, went, gone. Now let's see this non-finite verbs. Incomplete verbs that cannot be used on their own in a sentence do not carry tense. See this example. I want to go to ABC school. Here it was go, and in this sentence it is to go. The form of the verb does not provide any information about the tense of the sentence. Have only one form. This to go, it's not telling us which tense it is. And it is not having three forms like go, went, gone. To go, we cannot write as to went or to gone. That is wrong. You're writing to, you have to write the base form here. To go. Next thing, must have a subject, either implicit or explicit. Let's see what it is. Disha goes to St. Mary's School. So in this sentence, we have one subject, Disha. With that verb goes here, then the other part of the sentence. If we take this way, go to office. So it's known that you will come here. It's hidden subject here, but understood that you will come there. So you is the subject in this sentence. So finite verbs, they carry subject. Let's see non-finite verbs can be used without a subject. See this example? To go to school regularly is important. Now here in this sentence, when we are writing to go, there is no need to add subject. Without that also, this sentence is giving a proper meaning. The non-finite verb in the above sentence does not require a subject to complete its meaning. So in non-finite verb, no requirement of subject. In finite verb, we have to add a subject there. But in non-finite, no need to write subject there. And we'll get the meaning. Let's see next one. An example. He wants to go without you. He, this is subject. Wants, finite verb here. To go is non-finite verb. I also want to go. I subject, want, finite verb, and to go is non-finite verb. Third one, they wanted to go to. Wanted is finite verb. This is past form or past participle of want. To go, non-finite. So here in all these three sentences, we are not changing the form of this non-finite verb to go. Everywhere it is to go, and to go only. But in this finite verb, we are writing according to the tense. We have three forms of finite verbs. So here want, and here wanted. Observe that the finite verb has three different forms. In these three examples, though the non-finite verb to go remains unchanged. So there is no change in non-finite, but you'll find a change according to the tense in finite verbs. I hope you have understood the difference between finite and non-finite verbs. Now next, non-finite verbs are of the following kinds. Let's see what are these. First, infinitives. Second, participle. Third, gerunds. Let's see what are infinitives. Two infinitives are accompanied by to. That is, after to, you have to use base form of the verb. To, or you can say first form of the verb or base form of the verb. That is to infinitive. I prefer to stay at home. So to stay is infinitive, or you can say to infinitive. To is there. With that base form of verb stay. We decided to give the dog a bath. So to give, this is to infinitive. Next, in infinitives only, one more part there, bare infinitives. What are these? Bare infinitives are ones that are bare or used without the to before them. See these examples? Don't make me talk about my result in front of everyone. So don't make me talk. Talk here, we are not using to there with this verb. So this is bare infinitive. They shall come with you. So no to there with come. This is bare infinitives. Third of the infinitive is split infinitives. Split infinitives allow words to be inserted between to and the base form of the verb or bare infinitives. Let's see this. She marched onwards to bravely face the world. Here infinitives are to face. But in between them, these two words, we are using a word bravely. So we are splitting them to, then bravely, and then face. So this is known as split infinitive. She wanted to secretly convey the message. So to convey is infinitives or to infinitive. And here we are writing secretly there between these two words to convey. So we are splitting, we are dividing them. So to convey, here it is split infinitive. Okay. Now let's see what is this. Note that two infinitives and bare infinitives are the most frequently used forms of infinitives. Mostly we use two infinitives or bare infinitives, that is without to. Split infinitives are rarely used. They convey some special meaning or indicate emphasis. If we are putting force on something, putting emphasis on something, that time we use split infinitives. Otherwise, mostly we use two infinitives or bare infinitives. Now, next, participles. Participles are also of two types, present participle and past participle. Now, present participles are verbs with ing ending. Verbs with ing, they are known as present participle. See this example? They were dancing in the hall. So here ing word is dancing because verb is dance. With that we are adding ing. So it has become dancing. So this is known as present participle. Okay. Now let's see past participle. verbs with ed or en ending. That is past participle. He had worked in a school before. So here work is verb here. Ed is added with work. So this is past participle. Or you can say third form of verb, that is past participle. Now, third one is gerund. Now, what are gerunds? Gerunds are verbs in ing form that play the role of nouns in a sentence. Ing form, we have present participle also there, gerund also ing form, but they act as a noun in a sentence, not a verb, but a noun. And present participle acts as a verb, and gerund, it acts as a noun or a subject there. Gerunds look like the present participle, that is verb plus ing, as in flying and running. Now see this example. Swimming is a good physical exercise. Now swimming is here verb plus ing form. But what's the difference here in this sentence? We are using this word in the place of subject, using it or treating it as a noun in this particular sentence. You can use it as verb also, but that verb is taking the place of a noun here in this sentence as a subject. So this is gerund. Here you will not say that this is present participle. This is gerund. Okay. Present participle acts as a verb. They were dancing. So this is verb here. Subject is they. And in this sentence, swimming is a good physical exercise. Swimming is a subject here. It is playing the role of a noun, not a verb. So this is gerund. Understood the difference between present participle and gerunds? Those were the three forms of non-finite verbs. Now this is another causative verbs. Now what are these? Causative verbs are words that refer to the cause of an action. They are the cause of the action, those words. They refer to the causal relationship between the subject and the object in a sentence. Okay, so this is a definition of causative. Verbs such as allow, cause, enable, force, get, help, let, make, prompt, and so on indicate a causal relationship between subject and the object. See this example. Tina let me ride her bicycle. Now Tina is subject, me is object, main verb is ride. And here one more there, let. This is causative verb. The cause of this action. So here in this sentence, let is causative verb. Jeet made me eat an entire cake. Jeet subject. Object is me. Causal relationship here between object and subject. Which word shows that? That is made. And this is the cause of this action. That is eat. This is the main verb. So made is causative verb. Right? Next one now. Let's see this. Geet got Ali to leave the room. That's a subject and object is Ali. In middle, we have this word got, and this is the cause of this action to leave. This refer to the cause of this action leave. So this is causative verb. Got is causative verb. Now here you have explanation of these sentences only. The use of the verb let in sentence A means to allow someone to do something. That is the action of the speaker. What is action here? Riding Tina's bicycle. So let means allowing her is the effect or result of Tina's allowing the speaker to do so. So let is causative verb. Let, then someone, and then you have a verb. This is the structure of that sentence. About second one, the use of the verb made in sentence B means forcing someone to do something. That is the action of eating an entire cake. So made is related with this eating without the active wish of the speaker. That shows that speaker was not ready for that, but that means subject forced him. So made was there. The speaker is the result of Jeet persuasion. Persuasion means forcing someone. Here structure is make, then someone here, and then the verb. For the third sentence, the use of got in sentence C means convincing or tricking someone to do something. That is the action of Ali leaving the room. So got was there. That was related with leaving the room. Is the result of Geet persuading him to do so. So that way they were saying like object, they have to do that work, whatever is mentioned in the sentence. Next, we have exercise related to causative verb. Fill in the blanks with appropriate causative verbs. Choose from the ones given in the box. Change the tense of the verb if required. Okay, we'll write words from there. Let's see the answers. First is done. Seema's parents let her go out for dinner. Second one, the teacher dash her students to complete all the tasks within an hour. The teacher got her students to complete all the tasks within an hour. In place of got, you can write other words also. Helped also can come there. Third, the injury of the hero in the play made everyone very sad. So make we are changing to made. Fourth, if she asks politely, I can dash her share my umbrella. So here you can write, I can allow her share my umbrella. Next sentence, Deepak dash me to take part in the game, though I wasn't very keen. So here you can write forced. Next, could you dash her to go out for a while? Could you let her to go out for a while? Or you can write, could you allow her to go out for a while? Both ways that is correct. Next, Vanita can dash him find his way to the library. Vanita can help him find his way to the library. Last one, education dash want to make a better future. Education enables one to make a better future. So that was the exercise related to causative verbs. Okay, next we have auxiliary or helping verbs. Now, what are these? These are verbs like be, do, can, and have. They are changed according to the tenses or to show the manner of action expressed by the principal verb. They are also used to form questions and negative sentences. So we use forms of be, do, can, or have in different sentences according to the tense used there. Now, first point, if we take auxiliary verb be may be used as. So these are forms of be. In present tense, we have is, am, are. And in past tense, was, were. These are forms of be. Now next, auxiliary verb has may be used as. Had in past tense. Have in present tense. Will have and shall have in future tense. Has also we use in present tense for singular subject or with third person. Have we use in present tense only with singular, with plural subject and with I also and you also. Had for past tense for both singular and plural, for both had only. Next, auxiliary verb do may be used as did. Did we use in past tense, or does. Does we use in present tense. Do and does in present tense and in past tense did. For singular subject, we use does. For plural, we use do. With I also and with do also, plural formation, that is do. Okay. Sometimes the principal verb is changed according to its use in the sentence. Here are few examples of verbs and their changed forms. So this is a list, some examples given there, principal verb given there, that is the base form of verb. And next side you have changed forms there. And that goes according to the tense. Wake, write as woke or woken or waking. Grill, change to grilled or grilling. Speak, you can change to spoke, spoken, speaking. Dance to danced, dancing. Next word, refine, refined or refining. Ride, change to rode, ridden, riding. Break, change form is broke, broken or breaking. Blow, to blew, blown or blowing. Begin, change form, began, begun or beginning. Grow, to grew, grown, growing. Shake, and change form of shake is shook, shaken or shaking. So these are different forms of this principal verbs given here. These are few examples. So again, I'm repeating forms of be, is, am, are in present, was, were in past, has and have in present, had in past tense, will have and shall have in future tense, do and does in present tense, did past tense. Okay, tomorrow we'll be taking different forms of verbs. First form, second form, third form. So that's all for today. I hope all of you have understood all these different kinds of verbs. So see you tomorrow. Goodbye.